take the seat wherever you want.
Sit, right?
Okay, so let's kick off the discussion about customer experience. At first place, how are you doing?
Great.
Yeah?
Thanks for the energy.
Yeah?
I mean, just what an amazing morning.
Yeah, hopefully the rest of the day will be the same as well. So let's work on that, right? So, huge topic, customer experience, and obviously we are speaking about the opening panel. I have three amazing guests who are opening and setting the stage for the rest of the conversations. So if I go from my left to the right, I will start with Panos. Panos is coming from Roche, but maybe you can say a couple of words about you.
Good morning, everyone. So, Panos, Papakonstantinou. I'm with Roche 2.5 years. Previous employer, Novartis, 20 years spent in digital, done many mistakes in terms of rolling out technologies to the world, but actually I'm one of the biggest believers that CX is what we're here to do, making the difference for our patients. And as part of my current role as a catalyst leader at Roche, I'm actually overseeing Europe, big markets in terms of digital transformation.
Thank you, Panos.
Good morning, everyone.
Dana?
Good morning, everybody. So happy to be here. Good morning, my panelist fellows. So I'm Dana Vigier, and I am overseeing, so I'm VP for Central and Northern Europe with Alexion. Alexion is the newly bought division of rare diseases in our AstraZeneca group. So I'm a business leader looking after a certain number of our affiliates across Europe. And that's probably one of the reasons why I am here today, is on that side. But maybe the other reason that is not so obvious is I used to be your customer. So at least one of your customers. So I used to be a GP a long time ago, and as such, I probably have a slightly different view of customer sort of interaction, authenticity, and so on. So thanks for inviting me, Dario.
Thank you, Dana. And Alexandre?
Thank you for inviting, for the hospitality, important. So I'm French, I'm Alexandre Prigent. I worked in Novartis, in Sanofi, and for 17 years in Servier. I'm not a digital guy. I've been much more into business, medical affairs, and now I'm heading corporate competitive intelligence, trying to capture what are the pharma trends, to make the difference between the myth and the reality, and to ensure that we take the right path within Servier.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. So we all know the title of this hopefully very inspiring panel is Unlocking the Power of Customer Experience for Authentic and Meaningful Engagement. So I believe that maybe we can give all answers already in that panel and we can go home. Let's see. Okay, first question. I really have to admit that when we had an alignment call like a couple of weeks ago, it was really a brilliant discussion. And you, especially you, Dana, you really triggered some amazing questions, which also inspired my opening, to be honest. And actually, in my personal belief, I would say that everything starts and everything ends with the customer. And I think that we can all agree on that, right? However, you said something very deep, and which is, who actually is our customer in pharma? So maybe we can, at first place, elaborate who the customer is and how that ecosystem is looking like.
Absolutely, Dario. Thank you for that. He has not shown us the slides beforehand. I don't know about you, gentlemen, no. But not to me. So I discovered your slides. So just, congrats for that. There is one thing I want to discuss on your slide, and that is the last of your slide, which says who, how, and what. Before I discuss about the customer, I think we need to start with the fundamental question, which is why. Why do you even want to engage with a customer before even saying what a customer is? I mean, we're pharma around here, right? We're pharma. I mean, what we do is very obvious. Our why as a company is very obvious. I mean, the why at Alexion, for instance, is to transform the lives of patients with rare diseases. But it's the why for every company, which is bringing those drugs to patients, developing, producing those drugs to patients. That's very obvious. But why don't we actually stop with R&D? Because at the end of the day, what is the very obvious why is you research drugs, you produce them, and there you go. Then they're on the market, right? Why do we even need commercialization? Why do we need the affiliates I'm looking after? What is the why of our commercial people on the ground? And that is something that I think we need to work harder on and start with that. And that why, for me, I share it with you, and that's why, as a doctor myself, is why we need to be there is because in the era of Google, for instance, or Amazon, we could certainly do like, okay, the information on our drugs is publicly available in congresses, right? Immediately, like boom, you get it. You just have to Google it. Why do I even need people to go and share that? The second one is Amazon. Boom, they will just send the drugs to you. Why do I need to see a rep? Why do I need to see me or my people on the ground? And the true question is, the reason why we need that is because our vision, our mission as affiliates is to make sure that every single patient, wherever that patient is, gets the same level of innovative treatment, the same level of high treatment guidance, treatment follow-up, and so on. Meaning that if that patient is in AKH in Vienna or somewhere in the mountains, or that patient is in Stockholm or somewhere in the north, gets the same equitable access to treatment. And you'll say, yeah, well, that is fundamental. Because in order to do that, what do you need to do? Let me give you the example of rare diseases, which is probably the extreme level of that. It's valid for all of them, but there are 7,000 rare disease types. About only 150 of them have a treatment. About 160 of them are in development. I'm a GP. Honestly, how many of those patients have I seen? Today, if you go there, would you go out there, what you see is that basically you have a few super expert centers. And aside from that, most of doctors, specialists, I'm not even talking about GPs, specialists, have like 1 or 2 patients a year for one specific disease. That's a needle in a haystack. When do I even know about those treatments? How do I learn about them? How am I going to treat them? So that is, for me, the fundamental question today, which is, yes, of course, there's Google there. So if I think about, I don't know, GMG, for instance, for my patient, I will go and Google maybe, but what if I don't think about it? So, sorry for this very long introduction about the why, but for me, the why, to be very clear, why we interact is to make sure that every single patient has an equitable chance to treatment across the board. And the treatments that we bring, basically, do not serve only a small minority here or there, but serve every single patient. So that brings us to the customer question. Who is the customer? And that's when, I'm happy to sort of have the debate on that. But when you look at that, the customer all of a sudden means is anybody who can help me make sure that every single patient gets the drug he needs. So that's not one person. That's not only the HCP. That is a triad, right? And the triad is in our European systems. I'm not talking about other systems in the world. And the very big difference with what you showed in terms of customer experience is the fact that basically a doctor prescribes a treatment, doesn't use it. So he's not a user. And he doesn't pay for it either. He's just prescribing it. A patient is like not so powerful. He just gets what he gets. But he has the experience. And we have the third player here, which is the payers and society. And the payers and society are those who do not experience it, do not prescribe it, but foot the bill. And we all do that. All of them are customers. If we do not interact with all of them in a coordinated fashion, in a partnership fashion, you just can't speak about customers and customer experience. That's my postulate, gentlemen.
Yep. Very interesting, Dana. Let's build on that, and somehow maybe we can even speak about the purpose of customer experience, right? Purposeful customer experience. So, Panos, would you like to build on that?
A very, very small build. Excellently put, Dana, right? So, a few years back, my father was diagnosed with cancer, right? So, and I lost him to it after a year. It was for the first time in my career that I realized that being a caregiver, being in the process of actually following the patient, going to the doctor's visits, going to the hospital, going through treatment and so forth, has so many opportunities that we could do even better And in many cases, the customer is not only one person, right? So for me, it's a small unit. Of course, you prioritize the patient, and you want to make sure that they're treated and being able to lead a healthier life. Yet you should be able to actually look after the caregivers, you should be able to look after the doctors, make sure that they're adequately founded in a way that knowledge is accessible to them, drugs are accessible to them, and information is also there. So in many cases, we're not just bringing innovative medicines to patients, but we're also giving them the information that they need before and throughout the process to make sure that they're well cared for throughout, right? So that's a very important part from my side as well. I don't know, from your side?
Well, I believe that you said it all. If the customer is a patient, he will have a lot of needs. He needs answer, he needs to know how to take the medicine, which medicine to take. The patients want to have an instant reply to a question. When you are facing a patient, you want to get an answer. Which kind of answer can you get? Guidelines. Most of the doctors now are using apps, specific apps, in order to enter everything. And they will not ask for a company answer. And when you want to purchase a car, do you get the answer only for the car seller, or do you try to have a wider understanding? So for me, the challenge is there are a lot of customer needs. And you said it at the beginning. We have to align the company objectives and the customer objective. And as a company, we are not able to answer all the needs of the customer. So we'll have to make a choice. If I want to support the patient to get access or to answer to some specific needs, I will not replace patient association. I will not replace doctors. I will not replace hospitals. So what can I provide that gives a meaningful benefit to the patient? If I am Novo Nordisk, yes, I can build a full support for diabetes. Because I have the means, I have the money, I can support it, and I can work with the whole ecosystem. But when you are dealing with a lot of therapeutic areas, can you really give an instant reply to any question a patient can have, or an HCP? I don't believe. So we have to make choices. What kind of support can we give? And sometimes when we start a project of patient support or HCP support, we try to make it all. And it's not easy. So I would give a step back. Where can we provide value, and maybe to focus more on where we can provide value and not to try to make everything.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, usually when we speak about customer experience, and we all agreed on that during the preparation call, we usually use buzzwords, like also said, from omnichannel, modular content, and the other movements, and tech, and digital, and so on, right? But if you break down, actually, you mentioned, then again, some very interesting things during the preparation call, which is, if you break down customer experience, time and value really, really matters. Can you maybe elaborate on that, what you meant under this?
Yeah, because I was going to say, because Alexandre just sort of brought it, really. I mean, again, when you come back to what does a customer need, and let's say that for the time being and for the purpose of the conversation, you focus on the customer as being the HCP, the doctor, right? Which, again, is far from being the only one. But if you do that, let's consider again the example I gave you, which again I know is extreme, but you have oncologists somewhere in the middle on the spectrum there as well, which is, when do I need an information about one rare disease or one rare disease treatment? When I have 2 patients a year, maybe. Well, if I finally get a meeting with one pharma sort of representative, whoever that is, on January 15th, but my first patient is going to be of the year, will come, because that's when they come, on April 12th, and my second one in October. What do you think happens between January 15 and April? I mean, the information that would I have received with the best possible content, the most appropriate way of delivery, whatever have you, but it was on January 15, and my patient I will see in April. What do you think happens between the two? So my question here, and that's something that we really I suppose, have to really technologically work on is how do I engage with the customers at the right time, the time that is right for the customer, the time that is right for the patient, not the time that happens to be right for me. So that element is why am I saying technological? Because just to get a little bit pragmatic here, I know that in the US, there are clearly ways of sort of getting through the large sort of databases and analyzing that data. There are ways, because the legislation also allows it, there are ways to get information about at what time most probably a patient will just go to see his doctor. In which case, you can make sure that you engage in around that time and for that purpose. Well, in Europe, we don't seem to have that. Why? How can we work around that? Is there any way to sort of develop that? That is, for me, one of the important questions, and again, which is the timing. Content is linked to timing. As a doctor, I will need potentially an information like right now. I am in a multidisciplinary meeting. We're discussing the dossier of a patient, a complex patient. I just think I remember something about that. I just don't know exactly when. I would need the information now, the minute I'm in the meeting. Because if you give me after the meeting, well, that's said and done. The patient has been decided what's to do and so on. So how do we engage in the right timing? Patient is the same as you said, Alexandre. I think that the patients need the information when they need it. So when? Timing.
Small, thank you, Dana. Small build on it, right? So time could also be looked from the point of view of the doctor who spends a lot of time treating patients, running their daily practice and so forth. So is there a way that we could give actually more time to them so they don't have to actually spend a lot of time looking for the information they need for their patients across multiple portals or access or channels? Is there a way that we could actually make sure that we alleviate them of tedious tasks so they can actually take that time back and repurpose it towards their practice, to what they want to do? And I feel that technology has a lot to offer here, right? So we could do a lot in terms of what many other, so we're not going to be, to your point, Dario, earlier, right? So we're not going to be the next Netflix or the next Amazon, but we could learn from them. We could actually focus and learn from them, to Alexandre's point, about what is it that they do very well. How can we actually work with our doctors, with our customers broadly and patients, to let them know that there is another way for them to actually have more time for what they need, for the access of information, for the access to services and so forth, on top of the pharmaceuticals that they're actually getting. And for that, there's one big caveat, and that's not technology. That's actually change management. We need to treat them, to help them, to hold their hands as they're actually starting to use these technologies, to be able to get even more time back for what they need to do. One of my colleagues later, Nico Renier, is actually going to speak about change management as well. So I think that we need to think about how can we leverage technology better. How can we actually learn to our customers out there how they could actually get this experience better so they can have more time to do what they really need to do in terms of their practice, in terms of getting better, in terms of the access to pharmaceuticals. So time has also that component in terms of the value that we actually give forward.
Absolutely. Alexandre?
Well, as you say, the tech is an enabler. In your introduction, you say it's not about B2C or B2B. We are talking about human to human. Today, how much of the relationships we have are human, med reps, MSLs? How much is digital? We still are in a human relationship. So yes, we have this capacity with a hybrid mode to have interaction that can be either on the 15th of January or through digital push. It's true. Then, what do we push? And how do we push it? And where do we push it? As a doctor, do I use a specific app dedicated to a rare disease? Or do we go to a specific support from a company? Or is there a partnership? A partnership with Medscape, a partnership with the societies? So I think that we have to find the best way to, with an enabler, that is a technology enabler, with our content, to put them where it will be more useful. To have one point of contact for the patient, for the HCP, and then ensure that through our hybrid mode, with human relationship, because I also have a phone, I also have a mail in order to have an interaction and to give a support to those customers.
Absolutely.
But Dario, I think I'm just, sorry, interrupting.
Please.
Because I inspired what you said. I'm just conscious of the fact that you said the word push, which triggered something in my brain, which is the pharma model has developed for 30 years or whatever years on a sort of push marketing model. So, rightly so, we have sought all possible ways of bringing the information, the data, to the customers, which is still valid. Again, for many, many reasons, it is still a valid model because that is needed, even in the Google and all kind of other sort of available data models. But that is not anymore the graal. That's not anymore the whole of it. So the whole question for me comes back to the why. Why do we engage with them? Why do we engage with these customers? Is it really only to sort of push our messages? If that is the case, I suppose that we have missed the train. And that's something that I'm really looking after with my teams. It's about a partnership. Again, as far as I'm concerned, we're here to deliver collectively, equitable patient access. How do we do that? That is going to be through a partnership. That partnership is not necessarily only a push model, here's the information, do something with it. It's how do we partner based on that information on multiple dimensions, and you said it, like carers, like hospitals, like the patient journey, and you lived through it, and many of us have lived through it. How do we make sure that we can partner there? And how is technology helping us in this completely different model that is not anymore a push model, but a partnership model in getting there? That is, for me, the second level of our engagement. And that brings the authenticity that we were talking about. That resides there. I mean, it's not only, you can be authentic in delivering a push message, of course, but the authenticity comes with, why am I doing this with you?
Fully agree. I suppose we definitely have some questions from the audience, so let's foresee like a couple of minutes. So who has the first question? I know that, yeah, please then. Just please wait for the microphone. Okay.
Hello, thanks very much for the conversation. I think there's loads of things to touch on, so I just had one big question. I agree that I think purpose is important and moving to a pull and partnership approach. I work in an agency, I work with medical affairs and commercial teams a lot, but I see from the strategy that the focus and the purpose is always market share and sales. So strategic objectives are built on market share, sales, differentiators, key messages, and I don't think that you can implement any of this change without leadership and board level alignment with we're trying to give patients access and better treatment more than we are trying to achieve market share and sales. So is it possible to change that mindset at a board level, and how do people within a company advocate for that change?
I think this is a great question, because I think that we need to align ourselves up to our purpose, and you're completely right. And I think that the first thing is really truly to make sure that we move on from, I mean, money, financial sort of income is only the result of basically the number of patients that have been treated and properly treated. It's a natural result. I mean, we're happy to see the money flow in because basically, obviously, that's what keeps our R&D flowing. If no money comes in, no more R&D, no more innovation. So of course, it's not a problem with that. But as affiliates, if you want, for instance, when you engage with patients, it's not about that. It's about truly, have you managed to sort of get to all those patients? So basically what I'm interested in usually in our affiliates, is really truly, have we reached every single patient that we needed to reach because that patient was waiting for us? And that basically comes to epidemiological data, to the ratio, how many patients have we treated versus the epidemiology in that area, for instance. That is the kind of KPIs, if you want, that we're following. And because you raise a very interesting question as well on that one, which is truly the cross-functional work between all the different functions that we have. And you never want to align, you will never align a sort of medical function towards some kind of financial sort of incentives. That's not the point. You want to have a common purpose. That common purpose is the patients that you need to treat. At least that's how we see it.
Just a quick answer because we are already over time. So Alexandre, Panos.
So real quick, I think we have more metrics that we need to think about. So patients impacted, lives impacted, doctors that have access and to information and so forth. These are more things that we should start thinking. And very quickly, can we change? Yes, we can. We need to start thinking differently. We need to start thinking about a broader set of ways that we can actually get our innovative pharmaceuticals to market. Alexandre?
I would not go further than what Dana said. I mean, it's the ambiguity we have. We have to get a result in order to fuel R&D and sometimes also shareholders. And they are the ones that allow us to invest in R&D. But the purpose at the end is to treat patients. It's why we are proud of doing what we do. Even though we make money and we have to, I mean, we are saving patients. And at the end, it's quite different to work in banking or any other kind of businesses. So it's an ambiguity. We have to deal with it, and we have to make the best for the patient.
Thank you very much, Dana, Panos, and Alexandre. It was a great conversation, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Dario.
Thank you.
Please.